this is one of our live mock drafts going on that we hold with real players to compile ADP data for subscribers to idpguys.org. So I've got a team in here, and we're kind of just going to go through this. This is basically it's a 1 QB meant for dynasty purposes, with IDP players mixed in, right? So there's going to be a lot of information, a lot of names coming at you. So if you need to follow up with us on anything for you, if we go too fast, if we skim by some players that you may have wanted to hear about their positions here, please let us know. But I'm going to start off. I'm going to just read the round, how it went, and we're going to talk through from there, and we're going to evaluate some teams. The draft is almost complete. We're through half of the 23rd round out of 25. So we draft about, what is that? Close to over 250 players, right? So there's a lot going on here. So in round 1, we had the first pick, of course, being Justin Jefferson. Then we had Jamar Chase, 3 Christian McCaffrey, 4 CeeDee Lamb, 5 Jonathan Taylor, 6 Bijan Robinson, 7 AJ Brown, 8 Garrett Wilson, 9 Breece Hall to me, 10 Nick Chubb, 11 Austin Eckler, 12 Jalen Waddle. So, Matt, is there anything that jumps out to you there in the first round as like good pick, bad pick, reach? Like,
yeah, I think it's a pretty standard. Yeah, I think it's a pretty standard first round. Like, I feel like with the shift in where offenses are going, I'm seeing a lot, especially in these 1 QB leagues, right? 'Cause that changes a lot of things. Yeah, Jefferson and Chase are going to go 1-1, 1-2. That feels right. They're young. They're super talented. Their spots are secure. I do personally like Jefferson at the 1-1 spot a little more than Chase. But you could convince me either way. That's truly it would take, depending on which day, which way the wind's blowing, which one I'd prefer at the 1-1. So I'm fine with that. McCaffrey at 3 is fascinating because he's getting up there and he has the injury stuff. I'm trying to look up quickly, how old he is, or is he a guy that's actually surprisingly young?
Yeah, I think
Is
he's
he
like
surprisingly young?
26.
He's 27.
27.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
getting there
okay,
for a running back.
then I'm fine with him at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Lamb at 4. Obviously, yeah, Taylor at 5 is fine too. Sorry if I'm just walking through these, but Sean's right.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think the surprise for me comes at Eckler at 11.
Okay.
And maybe Chubb at 10.
That's where I was thinking. That's where my
Like
brain was headed.
I love I love Chubb.
Yeah.
Yep, I said that. Put that on a t-shirt. I love Chubb.
Clip it.
But yeah, he's getting up there. Like, he's gonna be fine for the next couple of years, I think. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in him in the long term. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, that's a pick where you're gonna get some production right now, and you're gonna have to figure out. Which, if you're watching us on our YouTube, you'll see what that team's build is, and I think he kind of planned for that by just going pretty RB heavy right off the bat.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I love Chubb there. And then Eckler for me is one that there's a bunch of rumors every year about people sort of replacing him. They have Isaiah Spiller. They just drafted someone too, and I'm blanking who they drafted. There's contract stuff. He's 28. There's a lot of things there where, look at the next couple picks being Waddle and Higgins. And then heck, Jacobs and Barkley, which we got to that second round. There are people I like a little more at that spot.
Yeah.
So those are the main ones that I think initially look out to me is like, okay, I see what you do. And, that's person that picked Eckler also went RB heavy right off the bat, mixing young and old. So it's like, if that's the move you want to go, kind of win now with those running backs that we expect to be good for that, at the very least the next year. Love it.
Right.
But if you're looking for sort of the RB, if you're watching on YouTube, some of these other builds where you go kind of the hero RB and then address other spots right off the bat, I think you can go better people.
Yeah, I mean, Chubb definitely stood out to me. Those, if you're going to take running backs in the first round, I prefer them to be probably 25, 26 years old maximum. you could argue the first like 5 or 6 picks should have been all the wide receivers. Dynasty really seems to be trending that way with the heavy wide receiver builds and the young wide receiver builds. I am a Chase over Jefferson guy just because he's attached to Burrow, and that's pretty much it. But I wouldn't be crying if I was picking second and then ended up with Jefferson. They're 1A and 1B for sure. So nothing too crazy. Breece Hall for me, the coming off the ACL, a little nervous for this year, and I'm very light in running back. Usually and this is my only other running back on my team was Zach Charbonnet, who's basically a backup right now, but he does have good draft capital. So, but I've been doing that a lot more, and I'm basically drafting off my own personal rankings, to be honest. So, some guys in the first. I mean, you could argue Gibbs in the first with his age. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp are still going to have a few productive years. Jalen Waddle was the tail end of the first, so nothing too crazy. But yeah, those older running backs towards the end. I guess I get it. Maybe they weren't feeling the wide receivers that were available. But we'll do the second round. The second round, the first pick went T. Higgins, then Josh Jacobs with some interesting stuff going on with him. Saquon Barkley, 3. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 to me. Jahmyr Gibbs, 5. Tyreek Hill, 6. Chris Olave, 7. Another guy who you could argue first round potentially of a dynasty startup. Stephon Diggs, 8. Mark Andrews, 9. Cooper Kupp, 10. Patrick Mahomes, 11. Devontae Adams, 12. So nothing super crazy jumps out to me there as being like bad picks. Like I said, I would just say some guys that could sneak into the back end of the first there for me would be Olave, Tyreek Hill. He's just still gonna have a couple years. Even St. Brown, he's so young. And of course we got Josh Jacobs with his potential holding out contract issue. So could he be, the next Le'Veon Bell where, he holds out, doesn't play a year, comes back, and we see very sharp decline. So that kind of worries me.
Yeah, I got 2 things. One, I don't want to toot your horn too much because, you're my co-host, got to put you in line. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, based off of our dynasty rankings that we have put together here on the IDP guys, is the only guy that we have in the top 12 that did not get drafted in the top 12. So if you replace Nick Chubb with Amon-Ra St. Brown, that is our top 12. So kind of justified there, feeling pretty good. So I like the value there with him. The only other thing that I would mention is, I love my guy Sikoli, mentioned every time. Love him. I don't know if I love Andrews there. That's an interesting spot for him. And same thing with Devontae Adams. Kind of both players getting up there in age. Obviously, they have great spots. If you're trying to win right now, like things are looking good. I go into these dynasty things expecting them to be startups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are younger. If you're going tight end that early, I would say don't go tight end that early. And if you're going to, then I think there are some other younger sort of assets you can get there. And then with the Devontae Adams, like he's getting up there in age, like he's not ancient, obviously he's still gonna be valuable, but there's so many question marks around the quarterback position. And they signed Jacoby Myers. People are expecting him not to go into Adams stuff, but like there is a Garoppolo Myers connection already, from the Patriots stuff, and Garoppolo notably goes more towards the slot guy. So there's enough question marks there where it's like, okay, you see the next wide receivers being taken, heck, well, obviously they took Kelsey, but Metcalf, Devonta Smith, some of the rookies. It's like, okay, I kind of like them more long term than I like Devontae Adams. Granted, he's going to be in theory pretty good this year, but those are the only ones where it's like, okay, fine. Yeah, if that's where you want to go, but I wouldn't invest that quick draft capital there. If that makes sense.
Very interesting to see Andrews ahead of Kelsey. Although they were only separated by 3 players. That's an interesting strategy.
Well, and that's got to be age, right? Because Kelsey's 33, Andrews only 27. So I guess seeing that, like, there's some. That's nice, but like I like Isaiah Likely. I don't know. Sikoli, get in the comments. Defend yourself.
Defend yourself, bruh. For me, I say this on Twitter all the time. Kelsey's the 101 or the number one tight end in Dynasty until he decides he's not going to play football anymore. Like similar to like Gronk for a long time there. Like it's just too crazy. Now we know that the Ravens have a new coordinator this year, and a lot of people are banking on Monken to unlock the offense, passing volume to increase. So I guess if you're that much of a believer in that happening and Monken is a coordinator, then you could justify the pick. But man, for me, it's just always going to be Kelsey. I can't. I'm not gonna take him out of that number one spot until he hangs up his cleats. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that'll take us into the third round. Kelsey went 3-1, DK Metcalf 3-2, Devontae Smith 3-3, Jackson Smith and Jigba 4, Najee Harris 5, Travis Etienne 6, Tony Pollard 7, Drake London 8, Treylon Burks 9, Derrick Henry 10, Joe Mixon 11, Jerry Jeudy 12. So when we're talking quickly to finish tight ends, we did not see another tight end then go until the 5th round. So it was Andrews, Kelsey, and then there seems to be a large teardrop for people in the tight end market, at least for this draft. This might be a little unique, but very interesting that people kind of decided that they were out on TE for a little while after those picks. So how about the third round? What anything jumping out to you there?
Yeah, I love that Etienne and Pollard are right next to each other because I
Me
hate
too.
them both so much. And I hope you're on the same page as me. Maybe you aren't. Like Etienne just has not put it together for any stretch of time. Like obviously it worked for a couple of weeks last year, but
Yeah.
like I just have no faith in him actually doing it long term. Are you looking at the stats on YouTube? Am I wrong? Am I am I just
Yeah, now
wrong?
yeah, right. He came on strong towards the end of last year. So
Towards the end of last year, and
yeah,
looking
he
at the
definitely had a
latest
nice
news, it says
right.
Travis Etienne Jr. will see reduced workload in 2023.
Right.
I just don't trust him. I just don't
Yeah,
trust him.
it's
Uh,
tough.
and then, obviously the next player there, Tony Pollard. Everyone is so up on Tony Pollard because now Elliott's gone, and they're like, "Oh no, this is the year Pollard's going to be healthy, and he's going to take the full workload, and he's going to do all of these things." Again, he's literally never done it. He's never done it, and Elliott's still floating out in the ether somewhere
Wouldn't
with
that be the
with
ultimate?
like the Cowboys just gonna just draft
Yeah,
him or just gonna
they're
pick him up again from free
yeah,
agency and take the same exact role, which limits Pollard. Like it I don't buy it. And I'm
yeah.
happy to eat my words. Fantasy receipts, you can clip this. Like if he ends up being great, a top 5 guy, like great. But he was drafted as what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's like a top 12 guy. I just don't see it. I just really don't see it. And you look at the next people that come off the board in this round. Like I'd much rather have a Drake London or Treylon
Uh,
Burks or Jerry Jeudy or even
yeah,
Derrick Henry for the 1 or 2 years that he's going to be relevant again. I'd much
right.
rather have them than the question mark that is Tony Pollard. So, yeah, Davy Cakes. You're buying into the hypes. The hype. Like I don't
Team
know,
hype.
team hype, but maybe it's just me. Am I crazy? Like, do you agree with me?
I love them. You say you love them back to back. Because I do like them. See, now I like them, I think, more
No, I love
than
them back to back because I hate them. Like, it's just easy to
so you
talk
wanted to get
about.
them out of the way.
Just get them.
Um,
Like, if I'm who is that? J Shep 9. I am ecstatic that Drake London just falls
yeah,
to me right there.
I'm a fan of Pollard. I think Pollard is going to be good if they do not bring back Zeke. Now, obviously, if they do, that's going to be a big fu to all the dynasty people who held and held and held and were waiting for this year. Although you got some of it last year. Um, so I think I like Pollard more so than ETN. I was really high on ETN until they drafted Tank Bigsby in the 3rd round. Um, that definitely sets off some red flags, and I know I have to adjust my rankings there even more than I've been massaging them lately. So his ceiling is definitely high. I mean, But yeah, if he's not going to get the full volume workload and could lose valuable, red zone and goal line touches to Tank Bigsby, then yeah, he's going to be a very frustrating investment as a middle third round pick even. But the problem is you're not going to get him any later than that.
Oh, exactly. And before people get at me in the comments about Pollard, out rushing Ezekiel Elliott and having better stats, I think that he works like well when there's someone else that can eat in stats.
Yeah, he
You know
might
what I
need
mean? Like I
a
think he needs
committee.
someone to loosen up the offense. Which before
Right.
you get at me in the comments again saying, okay, well, if Elliott gets signed again, he's gonna be great again. It's just not worth a third round pick. You don't want that dynasty asset that has someone else vulturing any sort of touches, especially if Elliott gets healthy and can do whatever. And maybe it doesn't have to be him. It's just you can't assume someone that's always been sort of the change of pace back who has good stats will automatically do that when they're the guy getting all those stats. Because typically, what I found in the history of the NFL, people that are already getting those limited snaps for whatever reason, they're going to have those limited snaps anyway. Like that's just they're going to
Right.
find a way to limit them because that's where they're effective. So just
Right.
temper expectations is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Clearly, Steve doesn't agree with me. Time will
Yeah,
tell. Time
yes,
will tell.
it's definitely an interesting and Pollard's no spring chicken, he's been in the league for 4 years and he's just getting his shot now. So that he's a very sort of risky dynasty investment at that same area. At least ETN's got age on his side. But Pollard's, getting approaching that age, cliff much sooner, and he's only now getting his shot. So yeah, these are some interesting rounds. So I'm not as I mean, you say Drake London. I'm still very torn on Drake London. I don't know what to think. Like, I guess that feels like a good value there for him. So yeah, I'd probably be in there. I took Treylon Burks right after him. If I was in the spot ahead, I have Treylon Burks ranked ahead of Drake London in Dynasty, but again, I've acknowledged that I'm probably in a minority there. So
I think both are pretty similar in
yeah,
value. They're both
yes,
they're both more projection than they are, other than like a Chris Olave who did it right off the bat,
right,
regards to the QB. I
yeah,
like the tools that Drake London has a little more than Burks. I like at this point, only going into their second year, I do think the draft capital and some of
yeah,
the college stuff still matters. So I still like London more as the prospect, and I expect the passing game in Atlanta to get better, not worse.
right,
Versus in Tennessee, at the very least, is going to be stagnant with the QB game,
mhm.
and then if not worse with Malik Willis. Granted, that's not saying I wouldn't pick Perks over or Burks over London in some, you can convince me. They're pretty much right next to each other, which is kind of why I like them being there. I like London better than Burks, but if you like Burks more than London, that's
Yeah, it's kind of a
you're splitting hairs. Like it's fine.
exactly.
It's still a gamble. One of us will probably be right, or more than likely, both of us will be wrong.
Gotta love it. All right, I'm gonna go through the fourth and fifth round here. We start to see more quarterbacks. Like I said, few tight ends. No defense yet, but that's going to change. Spoiler alert in the sixth round. So, first pick of the fourth, DJ Moore, J.K. Dobbins at 2, Kenneth Walker at 3, Joe Burrow. I picked Joe Burrow at 4 as the second quarterback off the board. Jordan Addison 5, Jalen Hurts 6, Ramondre Stevenson 7. That could end up being a little risky there with the rumors. Josh Allen 8, Calvin Ridley 9, Amari Cooper 10, Javonte Williams still receiving high draft capital at the 11th pick of the fourth round. Then Miles Sanders for 12, wrapping around with Cam Akers, first pick of the fifth. Brandon Ayuk at 2, TJ Hawkinson at 3, Justin Herbert at 4. I think that was great value. Debo Samuel at 5, Kyle Pitts at 6th pick of the fifth round. Quentin Johnson 7, Damian Pierce 8, Jahan Dotson 9, George Kittle 10, Dallas Goddard 11, DeAndre Swift 12. So there's 2 rounds of kind of these middle rounds of Dynasty Stars where there's going to be some gems in there. There's going to be some home runs, and there is going to be some absolute whiffs in there that people are going to go back in the year and be like, oh my God, why did I take him in the 4th or 5th round? So who are some of those guys for you? Who's some home runs that you see in the 4th or 5th year, and who's some regrets that you think people are going to have in the 4th and 5th year?
Yeah, for me, the Jordan Addison pick stands out as that seems like a bit of a reach
Okay.
for a rookie that we have yet to see play who likes his speed very fast. I will note that this is July 16th, so this was before any of that stuff came out.
Yeah, that's true. That's when
But
we started
yeah,
it.
but even then, I like looking at that team.
Yeah.
Like, get that quarterback, like, the fact like, I think you taking Burrow at the 2nd QB when you did makes a lot of sense. But, like, looking at, like, Hurts and Allen, they're gonna be really good for a very long time,
Yeah.
uh, and I like them more than I like Jordan Addison because you kinda know what those players
Right.
are gonna be, right? Like, even Stevenson, like, I'm going through all of these
That's a
players,
great
and it's like,
point.
I would have hoped that Addison fell to me in the next round. Like, I think that's
Mhm.
too early. Is that the first or is that the first no, 2nd rookie wide receiver behind
Yeah.
JSN,
JSN.
3rd
Yep.
overall rookie after
Mhm.
Rashawn Robinson. It's too early for me for Addison, and maybe I'm just not the biggest Addison player or, you know,
The this
person.
whole group this year is very underwhelming, and even JSN, who a lot of the college like Devi campus to campus heads like loved him, and the NFL still didn't love him until the 20th pick, I believe it was. Like none of these guys got taken very early, which I think is very telling of this entire group. And I think they're a lot closer than a lot of people imagine. So yeah, I mean, there's gonna be one of these guys going to be Jalen Rieger, like one of these guys going to be Justin Jefferson. Probably not, but it's they're all like grouped very similarly, and yeah, I think him being the second one, he plays with Justin Jefferson, so that's a humongous target share that he's
Right,
never going to have or never even have a chance at having. You know what I
right.
mean? So like I think ceiling wise, guys like Johnston, um, even Zay Flowers, who doesn't go until round 7 here, has a
Sure.
higher
If you're
ceiling.
going if you're going for those rookies, like, I mean, Ridley
Yeah.
is a bit of a risk, obviously, not having played for a minute, but, like, Ayuk, Cooper, like, I think there are people that are more established in the league that are also still young
Mhm.
and offer that upside. So,
And what you were mentioning about the quarterbacks, I mean, if you whiff on Addison in the 4th, like, and you could have had a solid 25, 30 points locked into your lineup for 3 or 4 more years, like, that's a huge advantage. So that's like, yeah, I mean, Burrow for me, it was just more of a preference of, I guess, projecting the long term ability. But again, these guys are all in the same tier, right? Like, yeah, Allen and Hurts have the rushing floor, but is that going to shorten their time in the league? So I know there's a big, like, people think like running quarterbacks get hurt more often. I will say that is not true. Now, I would like to see maybe a study on how long they play in the league overall. I
sure.
think there might be some more correlation there because I mean, we saw Burrow lose basically a whole year and he's a pocket passer. And most of the quarterback, knee injuries and things like that happen in the pocket. So I don't want to say it's because he's not a running quarterback. I just like his overall talent, I think, better than those two who went behind him. So that's why I took Burrow. And yeah, I want 25 points locked into my lineup every week. And now I start taking, high upside shots after I've got that spot locked down. In a guy like John Dotson, great draft capital, caught a ton of touchdowns from a ton of crappy quarterbacks. Like, to me, he's giving like DeAndre Hopkins vibes. Like, I'm not saying he's going to have a DeAndre Hopkins career or that they're even remotely the same player, but even when he did, and he battled injuries pretty much all year, and he still had a really nice fantasy season for when he was on the field, like catching passes from garbage quarterbacks. Like, I think that bodes very well. And I think Jahan Dotson is an incredibly underrated dynasty asset. So, I agree with you there. The Addison could be a whiff. Ramondre Stevenson, I love him, and he showed us what his ceiling is last year. But I just don't trust that team and that front office to leave him as the bell cow. I don't trust it.
No, that's fair. I think looking at the board though, with the running backs left, I see 2 running backs I feel maybe 3. Like I feel pretty confident actually putting up like an RB2 spot uh
Yeah,
at the very least
Javante.
left. And it's oh no, Javante. Oh, I was about to talk about them. Yeah, I don't like those picks at all. Yeah, like I see, especially in the dynasty spot, like I like Stevenson, I like Damian Pierce, and
Okay.
then like maybe that's it, but you can maybe convince me Aaron Jones, to be honest. Like, I don't like
Okay.
Miles Sanders there in Carolina. Like, I don't like Javonte
Yeah.
Williams. I don't like Cam Akers. I don't like Swift. I don't like I don't like the other running backs.
We're
So I see why Williams, Sanders, Cakers went. Oh, Cakers is what my fiance calls him, so I call him that. Cakers. I see why they went there because what's fun about these rounds. I killed Steve.
That's amazing.
I killed
That's
Steve.
so funny.
Uh, yeah, so a little peek behind my personal life curtain. During the Super Bowl, we make
Oh,
snacks for for each team.
yeah.
And I believe like based on the player we had in fantasy and the Rams year, we had some cake for cakers. So yeah,
Amazing.
it's the way to watch the Super Bowl, I'll tell you what.
I
Uh
love that.
yeah. I mean, it was fun about this round, like the 4th, 5th round in these dynasty drafts, like it's so dependent on the build, right? So like
Yeah,
I'm almost not judging the players where they are. I'm judging sort of the build that the team is getting, right?
true.
So I see why who do we have? Joel
Joe
Joe
Low.
Lowe, 63, and Axton, good friend Axton, went running back there, right? Because they had no running backs, right?
Mhm.
So they're thinking, okay, I got my wide receivers, I have
Gotta
a
fill
QB, I
in
have a tight end, I
something. Yeah.
gotta fill the running back.
Mhm.
Versus I look at again my good friend Michael Sicoli, who said, heck, running backs, right? All the
Mhm.
way down. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, to the 8th
Ninth
round
round.
or 8th, ninth round, and I
Yeah,
love his
ninth.
running backs that he got there, and I love his build, like,
Mhm.
actually looking at
Yeah.
the entire build, right? So, I guess it's a piece of advice if you're still listening to us, don't feel like you have to fill in all those starting spots, like,
Yep.
the balance thing, depending on the value that falls to you, like, take the draft, just know there are some running backs with value that you can get later, or wide receivers, whatever your build is, like, I'm looking at the people that really
Mhm.
committed to one thing right off the bat and the rest of their team, and like even someone who didn't take a quarterback until the 11th round ended up with Jared Goff. It's like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
going to be a fine team with a 1 QB
Right.
league. Like, that's going to be just fine. You don't have to feel rushed to take any player. So going back into these rounds, like, yeah, I don't like the Addison pick. Like, I don't feel the need to rush into those running backs with a bunch of questions there when there are some players or quarterbacks that have more established value. Because
Mhm.
people, especially in 1 QB leagues, they people say, "Oh, you can wait on QB forever." Like you'll get someone who's of equal value. I promise you, taking a top 5 projected QB will help you
Yeah.
more often than not. You don't want to wait
Very true.
too long for that. So, which is why, again, I'm praising you, which feels awkward. Like it feels unnatural. But like I think taking Burrow there makes sense. And
Yeah.
Davy Cake's hopping on Hurts and Skinny Chef grabbing Josh Allen. Like I really like that. Like those are kind of the
Yeah.
4 guys we really feel comfortable projecting into at the very least the top 5. And then the rest of them, the next ones like Herbert, Jackson, Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, like things need to go right for them to get up there.
Right.
One of them will, but you really feel good about those top
Right.
4. So again, talking tier breaks,
Yeah.
feels pretty good there. And then yeah, once you get past those running backs, once you get past Stevenson, like
It's a
I
lot
still like
of
Damian Pierce. It's just a lot of like,
yeah.
a lot of
It's
eh.
basically we talk like the running back dead zone. I'm hearing like a lot of people are for redraft. It's kind of like not a thing as much anymore. But for dynasty startups, I think it sure as heck is. And I think we just talked through most of it right there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get a lot better until those later rounds where you're getting some better value.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and in redraft, it's not even a dead zone. Like I really like in
yeah,
redraft a lot of those next running backs, like all the running backs you're seeing on the screen, like I think are
right.
going to be valuable. So it's less of
Yeah,
a dead zone and more just like where's the tier break? Like at that
yeah,
point, like give me any of those people, like give me 2 of
yeah.
any of those, and I'm feeling pretty decent. I don't need to rush to get Sanders and Akers because I need to fill the running back spot. When there are better options at the tight end or wide receiver spot.
Exactly. I will shout out. I mean, I've got Justin Herbert basically in that tier. So for me, it's a tier of, well, Mahomes is basically a tier of himself. And then I've got Hurts, Allen, Burrow, and Herbert kind of all there close to the same tier. I think
that's fair.
I would have, if I were Big Mike, double underscore, as I like to call him, I would have, not taking Herbert in the fourth was kind of risky, and I think he got very lucky and fortunate to have him in the fifth there. I would have much rather flipped and taken the chance at Ridley in the fifth, and if I miss out on him and get Debo or Johnston or Dotson or Ayuk or like any of that grouping, I would have been fine with pretty much any of them. So that was very fortunate that he got Herbert in the fifth there. So we saw, like I said, the tight end run. You had 4 tight ends in round 5: Hawkinson first, then Pitts, then Kittle, then Goddard. Makes sense. That's about the time when those tier of guys. So most of it's going fine. Yeah, Dameon Pierce, you mentioned, like, I'm like fine with him. He's just, I probably wouldn't have taken him in the fifth there. I'm probably taking wide receivers there, whether I have a running back or not. He doesn't do the pass catching. They brought in Devin Singletary. Like, that's kind of a clear flag to me that, like, he's going to do more of the not pass catching. So I don't love that unless he scores double-digit touchdowns. So I would like him there in a redraft league, but for Dynasty, give me a young wide receiver whose value is going to likely stay, higher for trade purposes and just overall over a guy like Pierce there. But he belongs around there. We saw DeAndre Swift as the last pick, kind of the same thing. Like, how's he going to fit in that Philly offense? It's going to be interesting. So, okay, round 6. We do see some defense start going. I'm going to do 6 and 7. I'm going to try to do them in groups of 2 here. So, and if there's a player you want to talk about when I call their name, just stop me, because I want to talk about the first pick of the 6th round, Devin Achane. I hate that pick. That's probably the worst pick so far, in my opinion. Yeah, he's. I don't get it. There's 2 guys there this year. Yeah, maybe going forward, but he's smaller in stature, and I guess I just am not as big of a fan as a lot of people seem to be, because I've seen this happen before where he's going this early. As far as the rookies, he was the 3rd. Am I correct in saying
4th?
that?
I think it's 4th.
Bijan,
JSN,
Gibbs,
Addison.
Oh, I mean just the rookie running back.
Then 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
1,
I
2,
think
3.
there's a misnomer with Dynasty that needs to be, you always have to be looking to the future, and I hate that. Like, there is a place for winning now. Like, it's a balance. Like, everything about Dynasty is balance. Like, you don't have to keep taking these scratch off tickets to go to the moon like sometime in the future, and then as soon as they start showing any signs of anything, sell high, sell high. No, get players that are actually going to score you points, right? Like, Shane is not going to score you a 6th round value based on these other players. He's just not. And like, he may never do that. Like, I don't know, get people that are going to score you points now. Like, even the people right after him, like that, they'd be more beneficial this year, I think, personally, than a Shane. So it's one of those things where people are always trying to find the next shiny toy. They're always trying to find the value there, and like, oh no, he's gonna be really good in a couple of years. We don't know that. We have no idea. Get people that are going to help you win now.
Now, he made up for it later on in round 10. He took Kendrick Miller, which I would flip-flop them in my rankings, like in my own personal rankings. I would want Miller up in around 6th round ADP and Achane closer to 10th round ADP. So that's just me. Second pick, Terry McLaurin. Don't have strong feelings about him. Although obviously I like Dotson more because I took him earlier than McLaurin went. Michael Pittman at 6'3". Let's hope that the new regime there can fully unlock him and that Richardson learns how to complete passes. All right, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to stop here. 6'4". Myself. Now again, I was basically just queuing up. What I like to do in these mocks is I just go to my rankings and I put the players in my queue in order, and I'm pretty much. I'll try to adjust it to my build a little bit, but I'm pretty much just drafting off my own personal rankings. I took Myles Garrett, 6'4", the first defensive player off the board. Now, I draft under the assumptions that defensive linemen of that caliber are relevant. So again, this all kind of comes down to, like, what is your scoring settings? we established it as one quarterback dynasty. It's I believe half PPR we kind of established for the offense. Defense, I'm just drafting it on a league that I would want to play in, which would make a defensive lineman this valuable and this worthy of being the first defensive player taken in the 6th round, kind of the middle or early 6th. So yeah, for me, I guess that means that Myles Garrett's my number 1 IDP player. Still plenty young. I think he's got 20 sack, record setting upside. He gives you in that like 15 to 16 sack range almost every single year. Solid tackle floor. We do have a new defensive coordinator that I hope only continues to either put him in positions to dominate or maybe he could even improve. So we're going to see about that. But yeah, I don't know. I think Myles Garrett's as solid as any first overall defensive player for Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate many things. Like
Oh,
what?
you sure? You sure? You sure you
I
don't hate
I
it?
I don't hate it.
Give it
I
to
mean,
me.
they're just no, there's options,
Yeah.
right? There's
No,
options.
exactly. Exactly.
I typically don't like being the first person to start a run.
Mhm.
I like it's more
Totally.
conservative, obviously. That's just who I am. If you've been listening to
Mhm.
us the entire time, like I'm a conservative fantasy player. What can I say? So I'd rather end up with the last person of tier 1 than taking the 1-1, right? Because there's a
Right.
little more, you know, uh, safety sort of baked in.
Yeah.
But everything you said is right about Garrett. Like we know who he is. He's got only his rookie year he had fewer than 10 sacks, right? So he's young. They know how to use him. All he does is play games. He very rarely misses a whole chunk of games. And the one year he did, 2019, where he only played 10 games, he still had 10 sacks. Like he's an
Yeah.
absolute missile there on the defensive line, right? So my only hesitation is the age, there being he's
Yeah.
young, but he's at 27 and taking
Right.
him as the first one because I see what you did in the next round, right?
Somehow.
Which you're a Micah Parsons hater. You
Uh-huh.
still ended up with Micah Parsons, who one could debate, especially in sleeper where we're doing this, is dual eligible, that he should be
Right.
the 1-1, because he's going to be up there regardless of
Yeah.
format. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think it worked out. I think the only questions one could have is the 6th round the time to start the defensive train, and
Right.
we will continue to hammer this point because it continues to be important. Look at your league settings, like see how relevant those defensive players sort of
Yeah.
are. Like we're probably talking, at least for you, your wide receiver 4 or RB2. You kind of punted
Mhm.
on the RB situation
Yep.
there for your team, which is fine. As we sort of just mentioned, like there are a bunch of RBs that are in that same range. So if you're
Yeah.
looking at that team, you have your QB, you have your wide receivers. Yeah, I kind of really like what you did. It's like, yeah, let's just draft a heckin' boss defensive team before anyone else does, and then hope
Yeah.
we can fill in with offensive people that are going to be better than people expect them to be. So no, I really like it. Like if you want to argue, Parsons over Garrett, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Like if you want to argue
Sure.
Bosa over Garrett, sure. They're all kind of in that same tier, so it's kind of personal preference. Garrett offers
Right.
that nice floor. So I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Again, I don't hate it. The only reason why I say that versus I love it is there are, I think, other arguments that can be made for other players.
Mhm.
But the way this draft ended up working out, I think it worked out heckin' perfectly for you.
Yeah, it is very nice. So we also set the roster positions to starting I believe 11 on defense. So, there is a significant number of IDPs that would be required to start. So, I think this is a good time. This is another do as I say, not as I do situation, where yeah, if you're not confident in your IDP skills, don't be the first one to take a player because you'll get value, especially if you use our awesome rankings over at idpguys.org, become a subscriber. Um, but for me, there's basically a tier of 5 of the top defenders. It's Parsons, Watt, Garrett, Bosa, and you could sneak Crosby in there and or Roquan, so maybe tier 6. So any of those guys could be the first defensive player, and I really wouldn't have much of a problem with it. So, but yeah, that's just what I got. We'll keep going the 6th round. So pick number 5, then after Garrett was Trevor Lawrence, another quarterback gone. Then the 6th pick, Chris Godwin, Lamar Jackson, 7, George Pickens, 8, Christian Watson, 9, Aaron Jones, 10, Alexander Madison, 11. There he comes. Marquise Brown, 12. First pick of the 7th round, my guy Max Crosby. So there's another defender. He was the 2nd defender gone. So a lot of people that we draft with like the defensive line guys. But then we have Roquan Smith, right, too. So there we go. We got a little run going here. Deshaun Watson, the 3rd pick of the 7th round. Zay Flowers, the 4th pick of the 7th round. I think really nice value there compared to the other rookie receivers that went off ahead of him by 2 rounds. Nick Bosa, the 5th pick of the 7th round. TJ Watt, the 6th pick. Dalvin Cook, the 7th. Jameson Williams, the 8th. Michael Parsons, the 9th. James Conner, the 10th. Alvin Kamara, pick 11, and Deontay Johnson, pick 12. So there's our defensive run. Hey, sometimes it can be good to start it off, and you guys eating up roster spots, and you might have a guy like Micah Parsons fall into your lap. So
yeah, it's nice. It's kind of nice when you play in these mixed leagues because it's almost like a second start to the draft, right? It's like who's gonna be the first one to start the defensive run, right? And then all of a sudden there's like another first round, right? Where people have the opportunity to get, a top 10, or in this case, top 12 talent, regardless of position. So it's just fun. Like that's what makes IDP so much fun, right? Like we're like you all of a sudden get to those 6th or 7th rounds where we were just talking about how it's like, oh, these are kind of hit or miss players, right? Granted, we always say it's harder to find offensive talent popping off on the waivers. This is obviously dynasty, but like it's harder to find that offensive talent. So always go offense first up until 5th or 6th round, or even 7th if you want to be, crazy. And then start going defense because there's always defenders that you'll be able to find later, right? But it's that's what makes it fun. Like you're in the doldrums of your draft, like you're drafting these risky players. You have no idea. Then, oh shoot, Steve just took Myles Garrett. It's like, oh, that means that defender's going off the board. And then before you know it, like you're taking the 6th defender taken, but that 6th defender is heckin' TJ Watt. It's like, yeah, great. Okay. Like that's a freaking stud. So that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun to me. And then all these players, like there are arguments, especially in these top like 5 to 8 defensive players. There's arguments for them going 1 overall, right? Depending on scoring format, depending on what you're doing. So it's just, I just love it. Like there's not much to really analyze based on the order because there's arguments for all of it.
They're all one giant tier, basically.
It's one giant. It's just it like invigorates you, like looking at invigorates me at least looking at the mock drafts. Like, oh yeah, this is why I like IDP, because before you know it, there are different roster builds where you went like heckin' defense, which I don't know if we want to like just
this was by, like I said, by my rankings. So like I have as far people, the biggest questions you always get is when do I take a defensive player? And in Dynasty, I think I mean this is a great example of what to do, or at least how to strategize off of it. 5th round would be a reach. 6th round is about right. 7th, you're probably getting good values, and from there you kind of got to mix it up then. You can see if you check it out on the YouTube, right? So we've got the draft board up, and you can see the color coordination. I mean, look at all the purple here, in these double-digit rounds. 10, 11, 12, all the way down to rounds like 16. Yeah, you've got all this purple, which is linebackers. Okay, linebackers who also might have defensive lineman eligibility. You've got some orange defensive linemen solely sprinkled in there. You got some pink defensive backs. Now I am team punt on defensive back forever and always. That you'll, even by my rankings, you'll rarely find some pink in my lineups before like the 18th, 19th, 20th round even. But yeah, you just see how it mixes in well, and you can find value. So let's look at the team right in front of me, J Shep. his build. So he went all offense in the first 10 rounds, and then started hammering defense in what you can see here at rounds 11 through 18. Okay.
Oh,
And
I
that's a
love
perfectly
that.
viable strategy.
And I love that defense. For those
And
listening on the
yeah,
podcast, like the defense that he kind of weighted based on everyone else, end up with Jordan Brooks. We'll see about him if he can be
for
healthy. But
dynasty, still should be
yeah,
fine. This year is
Jamin
kind of,
Davis.
yeah.
Yeah, Jamin Davis in Washington, who I love. Zaven Collins, who is very versatile, who is good.
Now, yeah,
Devin White, he ends up with there in the 14th round,
14th.
which
Yeah.
is nuts. Like he's a stud who might change teams, who's already putting up pretty
Yeah.
decent numbers where he's at, but I think he'll be great somewhere else. Nakobe Dean, who projects to do well. Jalen Phillips, who we
In the
expect to do really well.
16th round.
Then he went defensive back with Grant Delpit, who all he does is produce in Cleveland, and Cameron
Yeah.
Curl, who has like one of the better placement rates on the defensive formation there in Washington. Like there are ways of doing this where if you get those right people, like that is one heck of a build. Like I
Yeah.
love that.
It's
I
very
love
interesting.
that. You don't have to reach for those big players.
Absolutely. I think, so yeah, Devin White, went behind a guy like Devin Lloyd, like Zaven Collins, CJ Mosley, Eric Kendricks went in front of him. I think some of that might have been due to the sleeper ADP still being a bit wonky, because none of that makes sense. Cole Holcomb, Devin White should be going ahead of pretty much all of those guys. Levante David, David Long, Leighton Vander Esch before Devin White, like
It's
definitely bad.
that makes very little sense. I will say the
Yeah.
only argument could be for win now mode stuff. Even then, Devin White should be way higher than
Yeah,
that.
he's still a top 12 scorer.
It's one of
Like,
the. I guess more. I'm thinking like the CJ Mosley, Eric Kendricks folks, Cole Holcombs, where it's like, yeah, they're going to produce now. We expect them to. But if you're going for those younger folks like the Nakobe Deans or the Jalen
yeah.
Phillips, like you'd rather have them.
Ernest Jones went in the 12th round, like 2 rounds ahead of Devin White. So some interesting stuff going on. But this is why you play, and this is why you could take a chance at times in punting on selecting your IDPs, because a guy like Devin White will fall into your lap in round 14 for some unbeknownst reason.
Yeah, and people have like really soured on him because he's just not reached those
Yeah.
productions. We talked about that in
Yeah.
other episodes where yeah, people are like, "Oh, Devin White sucks because he never reaches that top 3 ADP I draft him on." He's perfectly fine. Like he is an
Yeah.
LB2 at worst. Like he has a big upside. Like he doesn't suck at all.
Right.
He's just not one of those top 10 guys, like or top 5 guys rather. Like yeah, him falling all the way down there is just kind of an eye opener where yeah, make sure your offense is set up. Have a couple of like hero defensive players where like we can rely on them, like your Myles Garrett's, or
Yeah.
your
Cornerstone type guys.
your Roquan Smiths, where it's like, yeah, you are not going to be the worst person. Like you're going to live up to your ADP for the most part. But make sure you have your offense figured out because their values on the
Yes.
defensive side are insane.
You can navigate a dynasty team that uses IDP players and totally play it like redraft. Like you can win and do it. That's a strategy as well. Take older, like Eric Hendricks type guys as your first linebacker. He's probably going to be great this year for sure. And then load up on the rookies even later on. So you can absolutely play that way, or you can grab cornerstone pieces earlier on, not have to worry about it. Load up on offensive younger players or rookie lottery ticket type guys. So so we've got 18 rounds here up on the board. I just want to read through the teams. I'll do them in chunks of maybe I'll try 3 at a time, and
Sure.
just yell out guys picks you liked or don't like. So team 1 had Justin. His build is Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams round 2, Travis Kelce round 3, Miles Sanders 4, Cam Akers 5, Marquise Brown 6, Max Crosby 7, Foye Oluokun round 8. He was the last pick of round 8. Bobby O from the Giants, the linebacker, round 9. Daniel Jones, the quarterback for the Giants, round 10. Chris Jones, defensive tackle for the Chiefs, round 11. Rashad Penny, Philly running back, round 12. Jaquan Brisker, Chicago Bears safety 13. TJ Edwards, the Bears linebacker, round 14. Sky Moore, round 15. That's looking like could shape up to be a really nice pick. Oh, I love Damian Harris, round 16. Josie Jewell, round 17. He was a top 5 points per game linebacker last year, round 17.
And then our
Another
guy.
reason. Yeah, we love him. Another reason, another example of why you can punt if you would like to.
Oh, but look
And
at his
then
next pick.
round 18, the ultimate sleeper of this year, Azeez Al-Shaair, the Titans linebacker. So he's got a really nice mix there of offense and defense.
No, that's a very solid team. I mean, there are players I don't love in it, but in terms of where they were drafted, Axton crushed
we
it.
touched on his offense a little bit. I love the Penny and Damian Harris picks. I've been grouping them a lot together in whether it be redraft or dynasty mocks or startups, basically doing 0 RB. So this just makes you think, man, if they were his main two and he, loaded up somewhere else in the rounds 4 and 5 for Sanders and Akers, maybe could have had some better strengths there, or Jaquan Brisker is a great pick in round 13. He's a top 5 dynasty safety. And again, like I said, his linebackers for that grouping of rounds 8, 9, and then 17 and 18. You've got 4 potential studs right there. So that's awesome.
Yup.
Next team 2, Jamar Chase, round 1, Patrick Mahomes, round 2, DK Metcalf, 3, Javonte Williams, 4, Brandon Ayuk, 5, Alexander Madison, 6. I don't love that for Dynasty. Don't even love him. I'm kind of coming down on him for this year. Not sure how great he's going to be. Roquan Smith, round 7. Brian Burns, round 8. That's a nice pick. Jeremy Chin, round 9. Probably not where I would grab a defensive back, but he's definitely got a high ceiling. Logan Wilson, round 10, as solid a linebacker as they come. Roshan Johnson, round 11. Who knows what he's going to be? 4th round draft capital. Don't really love, don't hate it. Ernest Jones, round 12. Great pick there. Inherits the linebacker 1 role for the Rams. Anthony Richardson, round 13. Very high upside pick there. Peter Pumpkin Eater, Jalen Petrie in round 14. Nice pick there. You got him after Jaquan Brisker. You got the number 1 performing defensive back of 2022, a top 2 dynasty asset after Jaquan Brisker. So that was a great pick. David Njoku, 15. Tajay Spears, 16. Greg Dulcich, 17. Defensive lineman for the Titans, Jeffrey Simmons, in 18. So I think it's a solid team, right?
There are players peppered in there that I like. This is just one of those teams where there's a lot of people I don't have on any of my teams. Like,
it's like, I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this.
There's a lot of stuff. This is the kind of team that probably ends up actually winning you your league because I don't love it. Like,
Right.
there's a lot there where it's like, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. Like, it started off pretty hot and then went with, a bunch of people I would not pick, but positive and negatives everywhere. But yeah, Joel, defend yourself in the comments. Defend yourself in the comments.
Team 3 starts off Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Deshaun Watson. Then round 8, Fred Warner, the San Francisco linebacker, San Francisco 49ers. I think we have some thoughts on him. We think he's a little overrated. Tremaine Edmonds, the Chicago Bears' 2nd new linebacker. I do love him this year. Quinnen Williams, the New York Jets defensive tackle, round 10. Quay Walker, linebacker for the Packers, round 11. L'Jarius Sneed, the cornerback for the Chiefs, in round 12. We don't like that. Brian Robinson, the Commanders running back, round 13. Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker / safety, in round 14 for the Cardinals. Juju Smith-Schuster, round 15. Bobby Wagner, coming back home to Seattle as a linebacker, round 16. Odell Beckham, 17. Kyle Duggar, 18. I know there's some guys from your fan team that you like here. So this is another mixed balance team, but don't love it, don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. There's players there that I think we got at a pretty good value. Like, I really like the Quay Walker, I like the Quinnen Williams, I like Tremaine Edmonds. I'm not the lowest on Fred Warner. Like, I think where he was being drafted there, being as LB5, like in Dynasty. That's uh, but there's some very nice value there. Like, I think Kyle Duggar all the way down there in the 18th round is pretty good for you
Yeah,
to get for the next couple of years.
nice value
Yeah,
there.
Isaiah Simmons, Brian Robinson. Look, I like the balance of this team. Like, really figured
Yeah,
out the offense first. I'm not the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson, but
yeah.
he is probably going to take a step up. But no, I like the balance here. I think this is a fine build.
Yeah, I wanted to take in Warner. I do love Edmonds there in the 9th. Quinn Williams is actually really good value in the 10th. Walker's really good. I hate Snead in the 12th.
Yeah.
The corner, the number one cornerback every year changes and changes drastically. So
Oh,
reaching,
and with him too, Trent McDuffie kind of took his spot as the
yeah,
in that defense, in
he's
that spot.
playing
Like,
very
they
well.
still played Snead all the time. They just shifted
Right.
where he was at, based off of, maybe the strengths of McDuffie, maybe the deficiencies of Snead. All I know, there's a lot of reasons to think that Snead is not going to live up to where he was at, in years past.
And even last year, you see, like he started off great the first before the bye week with 3.5 sacks, a bunch of forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and solid tackling force. And after the bye, you see his highest tackling game was 7 in a few weeks, no sacks for the rest of the year, and a handful. He did have 3 interceptions, which probably boosted him up after none previous to the bye week. So yeah, even last year, I don't, he kind of had, up and down all over the place. So yeah, I just don't do that. If you're gonna take a defensive back in the 12th round, take a box safety. The fact that Jalen Petrie went in the 14th, and Snead went in the 12th, that's just ludicrous, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
And
take Brisker, take Hamilton, take
yeah,
Petrie, take
and
Baker, like any of those people.
and very well, again, these could be just casualties of how Sleeper is displaying the players, and maybe they didn't scroll down far enough to find some of these guys. But if that was a conscious decision, I would say bad, slap in the hand. I love getting Bobby Wagner where he got him. That's great value. Simmons too. Simmons, that's about right in the 14th round. But
Mhm.
Bobby Wagner 2 rounds later, he's going to be a stud. And I mean, this guy seems like an ageless wonder. Like he could play 3 more years even. So yeah, but he's going to be he's his 4th linebacker. Like that's pretty awesome. So team 4 goes CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Calvin Ridley, Justin Herbert, Christian Watson, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk in the 8th, David Montgomery in the 9th, Antonio Gibson in the 10th, Tank Bigsby in the 11th, Cameron Jordan, the defensive end for the Saints in the 12th, Elijah Mitchell in the 13th, Zaire Franklin, the Colts linebacker in the 14th, Bryce Young in the 15th, Greg Rousseau, defensive lineman in the 16th, Alex Singleton in the 17th, the Denver Broncos linebacker, and Shaq Thompson, the Carolina Panthers linebacker, in round 18. So we touched on a lot of his offensive picks already. You mentioned so his his running backs. He took 3 straight from rounds 9, 10, and 11. David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Tank Bigsby. It's light, but if they stay healthy and hit, that's going to look like a genius move.
Oh, entirely. Like, I love this build. I love this build. I know I
Yeah.
questioned Andrews in the second, but this is kind of what we talk about, especially
Mm-hmm.
in leagues where people aren't, super sharp. Obviously, people are kind of sharps in this league, but in your league, maybe people aren't as into it as you are because you're listening to this podcast, an hour and 10 minutes in. But like, this is great. Like, figure out your offense and look at that defense, right? Like, look where he ended
Yeah.
up. Starting in the 12th, right?
Right.
Cam
First
Jordan,
player
defensive
taken in the
line for
12th.
the Saints, great pick. Zaire Franklin crushed it last year. I don't
Yeah.
believe in Shaquille Leonard coming back. I think he's going to crush it this year.
Yeah.
Gregory Rousseau on Buffalo continues to ascend. Alex Singleton is, 1B to Josie Jewell, very solid starter there. And then
Yeah.
Shaquille Thompson there in Carolina also had a dynamite year. Like, these
Yeah.
are players that are putting up decent enough numbers
Yeah.
that you are not going to lose your weeks because of these defensive players. Meanwhile, what you did in the first 11 rounds is
Mm-hmm.
build up offensive depth so that if your starters happen to get injured or stumble. You have people to figure out there versus if your defensive people struggle, you can find someone on the waiver wire. So this is kind of picture perfect how you do it. Like maybe if it were me, I would have taken a defensive hero maybe a little earlier than that. Like I maybe wouldn't have hammered wide receiver as much as Sicoli did, or double underscore as you called him. But where this ended up, I would be totally happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. His linebackers might be completely different next year, but you know what? That's okay because they're a dime a dozen for the most part. So yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. Team 5 went Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, Najee Harris, Josh Allen, got the stack going on there. Deebo Samuel, George Pickens, Nick Bosa. Then round 8, Rashad White. 9, Justin Fields. 10, Isaiah Pacheco. 11, the linebacker from Carolina, Frankie Louvu. 12, the edge rusher in Jacksonville, Trayvon Walker. 13, Pat Freiermuth. I think that's incredible value there. Talk about punting on tight end and getting Freiermuth in the 13th. Holy smokes. Rookie receiver out of Kansas City, Rashee Rice in 14. Sam Hubbard, the defensive lineman in Cincinnati, 15. Divine Diablo, linebacker for Vegas in 16. Brian Asamoah, sleeper linebacker in Minnesota, 17. And guy I love, Caden Ellis, round 18 for Atlanta. Caden Ellis just went in like the 5th round of a best ball redraft league and actually sniped me the other day. So I was very sad about that. If you're getting him in round 18 in Dynasty, I think that's an incredible value. His defensive coordinator brought him over from New Orleans because he played so well in his system. I think he is a better fantasy value than Troy Anderson, at least for this year. Maybe not in Dynasty for 3 or 4 years, because Ellis has been in the league for a few years and really just got his first shot last year. But that's probably him and Freiermuth, I think, were my favorite picks. I don't love taking Justin Fields in the 9th when he took Josh Allen in the 4th. I would have continued to punt on quarterback there, but maybe a trade chip there. But I don't like drafting guys to be trade chips. Also, Trayvon Walker felt like a bit of a reach. So those are my takeaways on Team 5.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And my other takeaway is, I'm sorry, Skinny Chef. This is the team that I would draft, right? Like this is the nice balance. This is the nice balance I'm sort of looking for, right? Like you take some of those defenders earlier on, like during those tier runs, when you kind of break out of that, tier 1 of the defenders, you go back to offense, you kind of fill out that, then you sort of hammer defense later. Yeah, when you take Josh Allen, like I guess like you can kind of justify Fields in the sense that he's young. Like maybe he ends up being, a top 5 guy consistently down the road, and looking at the QBs that are left, like you're not as convinced with the QBs that are left, so you take him. But otherwise, like yeah, this is a nice balance of win now / planning for the future. So I like that.
Nice. All right. Team 6 starts with Bijan Robinson, Chris Olave. I mean, that's 2 home run freaking picks right there for Dynasty. But then we devolve, according to Big Matt here, into Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Kyle Pitts, a very hot button player, Lamar Jackson, a very hot button player, TJ Watt, then round 8, Keenan Allen, round 9, James Cook, 10, Cortland Sutton, 11, Khalil Herbert, 12, Kayvon Thibodeau, the edge rusher for the Giants, 13, Kyle Hamilton, the safety for the Baltimore Ravens. Great pick. Both of those picks were great. Gabe Davis, round 14. I'm not a Gabe Davis guy. I guess that's decent enough value for him, though. Minka Fitzpatrick, the safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, round 15. There's Troy Anderson, the second-year linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, walking into the LB1 potentially role there, round 16. Jalen Hyatt, the rookie wide receiver for the Giants, round 17. And Jalen Carter, the rookie defensive tackle for my Philadelphia Eagles, round 18. And Steve Fantasy Ladders Philadelphia Eagles as well. So this is a very solid team. I think, yes, looking at his build, I'm more in agreement with you on. I don't love Etienne and Stevenson in round 3 and 4 there. When you took a bell cow in Bijan Robinson, I probably would have just rolled with him. And then imagine, so James Cook, imagine that as your RB2 and having a couple more receivers filled in there, because now your receivers are just Olave as a home run, but Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Gabe Davis, Jalen Hyatt. Kind of scary, to be honest. So I would have wanted to replace those running backs with wide receivers in ETN and Stevenson and roll with Bijan, James Cook, Khalil Herbert, and then figure it out from there. I feel like you're probably in agreement on that build.
Oh, 100%. Like Lamar in the 6th is really nice. Like I will die before I give up on Pitts. Like
Same.
I will die.
Same
So
here. We're Pitts guys. Sorry.
Yeah, like Pitts in the 5th, like great. Obviously, Bijan and Chris Olave, that's something you're banking on for years to come. The Etienne and Stevenson picks, like okay, like I'm hoping Stevenson's good for my home team in the Pats, but and I think 4th is probably right for him, but who knows? Like the Etienne, for me, like this is the team that you're trying to draft equally across the positions. So you end up with like one guy you're reliant on versus I find in my teams, I like to like really hammer one position. Like that's my strength. Right. And I will figure out the other one. Sure. You need to, obviously, to win, your players need to actually pan out. But this one I'm sort of looking at and it's like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good team, pretty average team. Like you have pretty great top talent at the end, but I don't see depth anywhere.
Definitely top
Right?
heavy. I agree.
Like I don't see depth anywhere, which is fine. Like if everyone works out, it's great. I like to have more contingency plans. But like looking at the linebackers, even like TJ Watt classifies as a linebacker in sleeper.
Right.
But then your
He's
next
gonna need him there.
linebacker is Troy Anderson, right?
Right.
Who we might not even play. Like we don't even know if he's going to play a whole lot. Like we like him in Dynasty, right? We think he's going to have a future. But like in terms of like win now mode, like this is a team that seems sort of destined for the middle. And then we'll forever be in the middle because that's sort of how things work. So I guess it's a fine team. Yeah, I would hammer more, wide receivers early, or if you're going to go for running backs, like go for more win now running backs and sort of figure it out from there.
Yeah, and then spending 2 picks on DBs in the 13th and 15th, like you could argue at that point in the draft who's really there that's going to make that much of a difference. But I just Kyle Hamilton, I would have liked Kyle Hamilton in the 15th, and then that be my primary defensive back, and then just keep loading up other places. Jalen Carter is probably a bit of a homer pick. I don't know what he's going to do in year 1 a lot. He may be destined for taxi squad in the first year because the Eagles just seem to like to bring their rookies, especially defenders, along a bit slowly, especially when they have vets still in front of them. So Brandon Graham's still there, Fletcher Cox still there, Derek Barnett there, Josh Sweat there. So like they have the veterans there.
Milton Williams.
Big Milt. Yeah. So homer pick, but top heavy for sure, which hey, if you don't have injury gods, throwing lightning bolts your way, then you might be great. But totally with you. The depth could use a little help there. So team 7, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Tony Pollard, Jalen Hurts, another stack. I like it. Quentin Johnston, Chris Godwin, Dalvin Cook, very interesting in the 7th round. That could end up being just a total waste. Darren Waller in the 8th, DeAndre Hopkins in the 9th, which looks in hindsight like a nice pick. Kadarius Toney in the 10th, not looking great. He's injured already. His first defender is Aiden Hutchinson in round 11, the Detroit Lions defensive lineman. Then Derwin James, the number 1 defensive dynasty back for the Los Angeles Chargers, round 12. Devin Lloyd, round 13, the Jacksonville Jaguars linebacker. Budda Baker, round 14, the Arizona Cardinals safety. Jamal Williams, round 15. Drew Sanders, the rookie linebacker / edge player. We have a pod about him as well. Round 16. Kyler Murray, round 17. I mean, shit, that's pretty damn good value there. Although I'm out on Kyler Murray, but at round 17, can't really argue with that. And then last pick, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the Cleveland Browns linebacker in round 18. My overall thoughts is this is a very balanced team, I would say. The stacks are nice. He's got really high ceiling wide receivers. Chris Godwin's a great floor. So he's really strong at receiver. Okay, not great at running back. Pollard needs to hit. Cook needs to sign somewhere. Jamal Williams probably isn't going to score 17 touchdowns again. And then the defense is fine. Drew Sanders feels like a bit of a reach. But again, this is Dynasty. He could project next year to be a starter. We don't know. Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton both kind of getting older. So a decent team overall there.
Yeah, you know my thoughts exactly. Like I really like the offense. Like obviously,
yeah, that was what I thought.
Like you have to expect that the offensive players are going to hit, right? So I mean, we went off on how I don't like Pollard, right? But like,
Yeah.
like in this build, like I don't hate it, right? You hope Dalvin Cook plays somewhere,
Right.
but so you might find yourself with this team like not having two running backs to actually start any given week. And obviously we're only seeing 18 of 25 rounds, but you're not going to find running backs you're feeling super comfortable with later. You're banking on the defensive players you picked. And I do actually really like the defense that was picked as well. Like the Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is going to be really nice dynasty. Derwin James, Devin
that's
Lloyd,
a nice
Buda
corner
Baker.
piece.
Like, yeah, maybe Sanders was a reach, but looking at the people that are going around him, that's kind of like a future pick. So, like, I'm not mad about that. But no, I think this is another solid to upper solid team compared to these other builds.
Absolutely. All right. Team 8, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Drake London, Jordan Addison, Damian Pierce, Trevor Lawrence, Jameson Williams, Dalton Kincaid, the rookie tight end, round 8, Elijah Moore, round 9, Jonathan Mingo, 10. Here comes the defense. We
Is
talked about
that
this
before we
being.
even get there? Is that
Yeah.
we have no players after their first 2 years other than Lawrence?
Oh, wow.
That is a
Elijah
young
Moore is entering
is
year 3.
so with Lawrence. That's a young team on offense,
Yeah, but
but okay.
they're good players.
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
see.
yeah,
But okay. Yeah, just note it. Like that's a
yeah,
young offensive team.
excellent
Okay.
call for sure. Then he goes strong defense. Jordan Brooks, the Seattle linebacker, around 11. Jamin Davis, Washington linebacker, around 12. Zaven Collins, the converted linebacker. We're hearing he's probably going to play a lot of edge type rusher, stand up, kind of a Hassan Reddick style player in round 13. Devin White, we talked about good value there in round 14. Jacoby Dean, breakout player potential in round 15. Jalen Phillips, the Miami Dolphins edge rusher, around 16. Couple of defensive backs in Grant Delpit and Cameron Curl in round 17, 18. So we kind of touched on this team a lot. I think we both like to build the offense. Yeah, you're right. Very young, but I mean, if you're going to go young, like so, we kind of didn't love the Addison pick, but
Yeah,
he's got enough
this is what
around
dreams
him.
are made of, man. Like
Yeah,
this is like one of
this is
my
like team
favorite teams.
upside.
This is team upside. Like if you're
Yeah,
wanting to feel positive about anything, this is the team. Again, I would have traded out Addison for maybe Hurts, and
right.
then maybe trade out Lawrence for a Christian Watson or someone else there.
Right.
But otherwise, I mean that defense is heckin' great. You
Yeah.
waited on defensive backs. Like there's a bunch of upside DL and linebacker. A lot of those players are sort of dual eligible on sleepers. So you're filling out your starters. And yeah, there's a bunch of players there that, project to do pretty well. So in Dynasty, you're hoping some of them hit. But this
Yeah.
is kind of what as Lizzie McGuire once said, this is what dreams are made of.
Great song. Oh man, I wish we had the production rights to that one. We could end the show with that song.
Right.
All right, don't hold back. This is my team. Pick number 9. Brees Hall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Treylon Burks. A lot of people aren't going to agree with him that early. But again, Dynasty, I like him. Joe Burrow, round 4, Jahan Dotson, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. Then I kept going defense, round 8, Nick Bolton, the Chiefs linebacker. Round 9, Will Anderson, the rookie from the Houston Texans, edge rusher. Round 10, Zach Charbonnet, the Seattle Seahawks rookie running back. Round 11, Marvin Mims, the rookie wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Round 12, Jack Campbell, the rookie linebacker for the Detroit Lions. Round 13, Hassan Reddick, a hometown pick, but great value, edge rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles. Round 14, the rookie tight end for the Detroit Lions, Sam Laporta. Round 15, the rookie wide receiver, Josh Downs for the Colts. Round 16, the rookie wide receiver, Tank Dell for the Texans. Round 17, the rookie wide receiver Jaden Reed for the Packers. And round 18, edge rusher Daniil Hunter for the Minnesota Vikings. I said rookie there a heck of a lot of times. We talked about the team in front of me being young. That was a conscious decision, me announcing them that because I'm like, oh God, rookie. Like my offense, out after those defenders are pretty much all rookies.
Yeah,
That's scary.
Yeah, I think you have a decent balance with your team. Yeah, I mean it's a good team. Like what's nice about IDP is in these offense and defensive leagues, there are different ways to
Yeah.
build
Yeah.
a really nice roster. Like in a lot of my leagues that are like this, yeah, I end up my defense is what carries me, right? And then my offense sort of like just kind of pitches in when it can. And that's sort of what this roster is when you're
Yes.
looking at it. Like you ended up with, Garrett Parsons and Bolton, I don't know,
And
3
yeah,
of
I
the top 8
yeah,
defensive
yeah,
players arguably that you could
right.
end up with. Like that's incredible. Like that's incredible. Like that does
Yeah.
not happen on offense, right? Like that it just truly doesn't happen. So in order for this team to be successful, that defense really needs to hit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I really like the offensive talent you have there. Running back is hella
Yeah.
thin. Like
Right.
Brees Hall, hopefully he comes back and hopefully Z Sharp, plays
Gets some
behind.
touches.
Like otherwise, you have no answers at running back, and then
Yeah.
even at wide receiver is like, okay, who's actually regularly
Yeah.
playing? We know we have 3 of them there, but there's not a whole lot of depth. And then Laporta, that's a sleeper for
Yeah.
your tight end, but you're starting him, right? Like there's like he's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna have him in the bench. Like you're starting him at the tight end spot. But again, that's how
Yeah.
you can win. That's how you can win in these sort of leagues. So I'm not gonna yuck your yum with this build because this is you are the first person and I think the only one looking at the remaining 3 teams that committed to we're just gonna win with IDP, right? So if your
Right.
scoring
Right.
settings allow you to do this and they are
Exactly.
equitable to offensive players, this is a way you can win.
It is
And if
possible.
you're
Yeah.
IDP freaks like us, this maybe is a more fun way to win.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for not going too harsh on me there.
It's a good team. It's
Yeah.
good.
After I kept saying rookie, I was like, yeah, I don't know if
I
that
mean,
was,
you
but
did, but
that's just how most dynasty rankings are going to skew, right? They're going to skew rookie heavy, and in these later double-digit rounds, why not? I guarantee you, I do have vets lower on. That's what I do. Those middle double-digit rounds, I tend to skew rookie, and then I'll fill in. Laporta might not be my starter. I might grab who might be a Tyler Higbee, a Tyler Conklin, like somebody who I can plug in year one, let Laporta kind of feel it out. Second half of the year after the bye week, maybe Laporta picks up steam. But for my dynasty roster, projecting him forward, I think he's a great asset. And I think looking back on this value, it could be a steal there. So yeah, I'll point out, guys, I am higher on Laporta and Marvin Mims than a lot of other people. Even Charbonnet, I think that's a decent enough value there. Yeah, it's a little murky with him, but I think I'm kind of just betting on the talent there to just rise up out of the top. Kenneth Walker's a very good talent as well, but this could be a trading play for the Seahawks as well. Play both of them, whoever hits, trade them away, and roll with the other one. So that was kind of my thinking there. Team 10 was Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker. So RB heavy build, 0 wide receiver. George Kittle, Michael Pittman is their first receiver. This pick I hate. James Conner. If you're going to do this build, taking James Conner there, I hate it. I would have rather gone defense, wide receiver, anything.
anything else.
Yeah. Dak Prescott round 8. That's decent enough value for him. Mike Evans round 9. Brandon Cooks 10. Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle for the Dolphins, round 11. Pete Werner, the New Orleans Saints linebacker, round 12. CJ Mosley, the Jets linebacker, round 13. Leighton Vander Esch, the Dallas Cowboys linebacker, 14. Julian Love, the safety for the Seattle Seahawks, previously with the Giants, round 15. Jalen Thompson, the Arizona Cardinals defensive back, round 16. Hate that. Matt Milano, the Buffalo Bills linebacker, de facto number 1 there in Buffalo now, round 17. Great pick there. Anthony Walker, the Cleveland Browns linebacker, round 18, coming off a shredded knee. So I'll touch on the defensive backs. If you're going to do defensive back that early, I mean, Julian Love is kind of slated as the number 3 safety there. So I don't love that as his number 1. And Jalen Thompson, now maybe at the time, but his job kind of got cucked by Isaiah Simmons. So it's going to be Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons back there. Jalen Thompson kind of goes back to a reserve role. So that could just end up being a total waste of a pick at that point. So I definitely don't like those picks. The linebacker core for where he got him, I think is great. Warner, Mosley, Vander Esch, Milano, and Walker. I actually like some of the other Cleveland linebackers more so than Walker. But they all got injured last year. So who camp is going to tell us a lot there in preseason. But yeah, overall, it's like I used to be heavy RB guy and I would have loved this a year or two ago. But now, just calibrating my strategies, I would kind of work the complete opposite. I understand being later in the draft might kind of force your hand with some of these picks, but the RB heavy builds just don't seem to work out as much these days. So a top 3 and only 3 in these 18 rounds receivers of Pittman, Evans, and Cooks, kind of yucky, right?
Yeah, it's dependent on how many, starting spots can be allocated to running back. 'Cause I'm
True.
assuming once you go to RB5 in James Conner, like, that is not gonna be a starting spot.
You can't even start him, yeah.
You're not gonna start him, so what are you ensuring, right? Like, you have to assume your picks are right at some point, like, there's only so much insurance you can have. Like, yeah, Chubb, Barkley, Henry, that is one heckin' start, right? Like, that is you have 3 stud running backs, your odds are good, you have 2 running backs spots, and a flex spot. Like, I feel pretty good with that. But then, going back to Kenneth Walker, and then again, James Conner in the 7th. It feels like there's a lot of doubling down on the running back spot where you can fill in some wide receivers up there. But this particular bill just, indicates to me like you can wait on defense, end up with just a perfectly fine defense, like taking your first defender in round 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ending up with Wilkins, Werner, Mosley, Vander Esch, Julian Love, Thompson, Milano, Walker. Like, that's a good enough defense. Like, say what you will, those players are all going to be playing. They're all going to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to rush into your defensive players in these sort of mixed leagues. Unless you want to with your strategy. But like, if you want to wait on that, you totally can. Granted, as you mentioned, I would probably have mixed around the positions in the rounds for this
Right.
particular roster to fill it out and more aligned with my particular strategy. Maybe wide receiver a little earlier, maybe 1 or 2 fewer running backs, we'd see. But no, I like the build, and Prescott in the 8th, I think is sneaky going to be nice
That's
because
probably the best pick.
that is like you waited on QB up until QB 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 10. That's QB 10, right? Like
Yeah.
of in a 12 team league, and you're ending up with Dakota Prescott, who
Yeah.
can put up pretty decent numbers. So, yeah, I'm not gonna hate on this team a whole lot, but just proving to everyone that yeah, you can wait on defense till pretty late and end up with a pretty good defense.
Yeah. Now this is very interesting. If you notice, the team we're going to talk about next went position
Same
for position, the
same position for position.
exact, literally for all 18 rounds, went the exact same position build as the team from them. That is, I don't think you could do that if you
I've never seen
tried.
that. Never seen that.
So team 11 went Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Dallas Goddard, Terry McLaurin, Alvin Kamara. Tua Tagovailoa, round 8. Tyler Lockett, round 9. Mike Williams, 10. Josh Allen, the IDP, the Jacksonville Jaguar, edge rusher, round 11. Shaq Leonard, the Colts linebacker, round 12. Eric Kendricks, the Chargers linebacker, round 13. David Long, who I like very much this year. Hope he stays healthy. The Miami Dolphins linebacker, round 14. Jamal Adams, the Seahawks safety, round 15. Antoine Winfield, the Buccaneers safety, round 16. Devondre Campbell, the Packers linebacker, round 17. And Patrick Queen, the Ravens linebacker, round 18. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I like the players on this team better than team number 10. So that jumps out to me. The defense I like substantially better. Maybe it's because of the defensive backs clouding that. I think Jamal Adams and Antoine Winfield are heads and shoulders better picks than Julian Love, Jalen Thompson there. And I also like the linebackers overall, although Shaq Leonard, we know, is a huge issue. Anyone who's drafting Shaq Leonard, whether it be dynasty or redraft, make sure you're grabbing EJ Speed with your very last pick, because Leonard might not play again this year. Like his reports and things like that are just not trending in the right direction. So yeah, what do you think about this team?
Yeah, it's really funny, which is why we're good podcast hosts. Like, there's maybe 3 players in this team I like better than the other team. Like, I would so rather have the other team than this team.
I love it. Let's go.
Man, like this team is bad compared to the other team's team. It's bad. Like I like the Devondre Campbell and Patrick Queen where we got him there. Like I also like T Lockett there. I think he's often slept on. Like all he does is produce and play.
Right.
But near everyone else, you can take them. I'll take their counterpart on the other team more than them.
Gotcha.
So
Right.
it is fascinating that it's the same exact strategy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they planned that. I doubt it. But it just shows you how, one draft spot difference can make all the change for, people that you like, which is nice. Cause in terms of the general ADP, like obviously these are pert near the same team, right?
Right.
Like
right.
in terms, like these are what's used in our ADP, and like it is one spot different. But if you have the choice in where you're drafting, and you have between the choice being 10th or 11th, maybe you want to go earlier so you can get your guys. Like I don't know. It's fascinating.
I think both of them would be very busy trading. If these were converted to like real teams, I definitely think they're going to be wheeling and dealing some of these running backs, because again, 5 in the first 7 rounds, you probably can't start more than 4, even more than 3 in some cases.
Right.
So
right.
I think that's just what a lot of the dynasty community is settling on. Like where a few years ago this may have made sense, but just with this decline in the running back, not only the paying market that's going on right now, but like the usage, there's 3 or 4 bell cows maybe in the league anymore. Other than that, it's all sharing touches and sharing roles. And then even when you have the roles defined, these coaches will bring out the 3rd or 4th string running back to run in a 1-yard touchdown, and it's just infuriating. So spending these very high capital dynasty startup picks on grouping and bunching running backs together like this just doesn't seem to be a winning formula these days anymore.
Right.
So.
And I'm here for taking 3 right off the bat. Like I think there is a
That
place
can
where
work.
I feel there's a place where you can then fill in a wide receiver and tight end,
Sure,
and be decent, and try to get that edge at your running back spot over your opponents every week. Because again, I go back to the team before this, like Chubb, Barkley, Henry, like those are 3 potentially top 10 guys, right? At the running backs. Like you, in theory, your running back room and your flex will have the advantage. But then don't keep going running back, because you already have the advantage, right? Like those other people are insurance. They're not helping you week in, week out. Like they're only helping you if the people you drafted to be there every week aren't there, right? Like cut that out and then go after the other spots to help your team score points versus people that are going to be on your bench and not helping you score points. So and even the Eckler Jacobs mix and build there, right? Like that's a solid top 3 that you can make the same argument. Like those are again 3 maybe top 10 and top 12 guys if you're less on them than I am, or like me. But like again, that's the same sort of thing, the same strategy. Like my running backs are going to be my strength, right? They're going to be better running backs than the other team. Then don't keep going with Dobbins and Kamara. Like
Right.
go somewhere else to help your team score points.
Precisely. All right, our last team goes Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore. So complete opposite, right? 4 wide receivers, then DeAndre Swift, Devin A-Chain. I discussed that. Deontay Johnson. Then round 8, Rashad Bateman. Round 9, A.J. Dillon. Round 10, Kendre Miller, the rookie running back for the Saints. Round 11, Jared Goff as their QB1. Round 12, Evan Ingram as their tight end 1, which actually looks great in hindsight. Just got that fat contract. Round 13, the Pittsburgh Steelers' newest linebacker addition, Cole Holcomb. That could end up being a really nice pick, at least for this year. Levante David, the Buccaneers' longtime linebacker, in round 14. Dre Greenlaw, I have him so high in my personal dynasty rankings as a linebacker in round 15. Great pick for the 49ers. Round 16, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the Lions. We think he avoided serious injury, so that's great to hear. Round 17, the New York Giants safety, Xavier McKinney. And round 18, Jordan Hicks, the linebacker 1 in Minnesota for this year. Yeah, this is a nice team. It's fine. Like I said, I hated the A-Chain pick, but man, I think he made it up in that 10, 11, 12, and then the defense is really, really nice, great value picks there. So I like this team definitely better than the last 2 we discussed. How about you?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat, or in the same boat. The only thing I question here is not having a defensive line. Like I know that like the defensive line folks
True.
are in especially not best ball where you can just draft a whole lot of them and one of them
Right.
just needs to work out each week.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to find
Spray and pray.
yeah, it's hard to find this consistent defensive line play that you're feeling comfortable with starting, which is sort of where if you're going to be going like they waited a long time to go defense, which
Yeah.
again it's fine. Like that offense is fire.
Yeah.
Getting Goff there is sort of the
And
last
that's why we like it.
yeah, or second to last top 12 guy at QB. Like,
Yeah.
yep, I feel very fine with that. I probably would have taken a defensive lineman earlier because a lot of those linebackers, especially the ones that went later, you can sort of fill in those spots where like a
True.
Holcomb or Greenlaw or Hicks, where it's like, yeah, you're valid for the next year or two. Like we're going to start you to win games now. You can find someone else there, and you could have taken a defensive lineman that you feel a little more comfortable with starting every week and actually producing. But other than that, like you said, there's some really good depth there at the linebacker spot. Every other spot, again, the offense is really nice. Yeah, hopefully Gardner Johnson avoided injury. We think he did. We like Xavier McKinney, but yeah, the only thing like I like the more balanced approach. Like I like to say, wait on defense, but I like taking a couple more of those hero people at those spots so I feel more comfortable, banging out the offense. So that's the only thing I say here. I don't know where they went on the defensive line, but that's the spot right now where I'm looking at people are taking in those last rounds on the DL where it's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable starting them every week. So hopefully you found some diamonds in the rough where you're looking at our rankings and you grab some people. Oh, we're looking at that.
The Washington. I'll cheat it here. They got the Washington guys, so doubled up.
Okay.
Fine,
That's fine. That's fine. Like I do really, I am rather high on them. I don't feel comfortable knowing which one of those is going to produce every week though. So it's an interesting spot, but that's why everyone has their own opinions and this might just work out.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he grabbed like one of those dual eligible linebacker / D lineman, more of like an edge rusher type instead of one of those 4, like you mentioned, instead of Holcomb, David, Greenlaw, Hicks, work and a mixed edge guy in there. What often happens to me, so this build, so I participate in almost all of these mock drafts that we do to build our ADP, and this build with my defense here, first time it's happened. Where the board has just fallen this way. Normally I'm like, so defensive linemen for me, I think this is a good like comparison, are sort of like the running backs for offense, right? There is a handful of elite guys who do play the majority of snaps. Guys like Max Crosby, who was playing damn near, north of 80, 85% of snaps. That is very rare for defensive linemen. They're always being rotated. The sacks are going to come when you least expect them. They can be very frustrating. So I usually try to do a hero defensive lineman build and then just mix everything else and grab some dual eligible guys here and there. I am normally not this stout on defense at all. I'm the guy who, I might have grabbed Myles Garrett in the 6th, but my next defender might not come till 12, 13, or 14. You know what I mean? So that is normally the build that I do. I think, but I do like my team here with this stout defensive build, but I've also very much like other teams where I kind of go hero defensive lineman, maybe a hero linebacker, and then I'm pretty much punting the rest away, just loading up on young wide receivers mostly, or just younger first and second year running backs, lottery ticket type guys. So that's how I sort of approach this. So team 12 here can, hopefully those lines. That's what. And now if I were him, I would just be hammering defensive linemen or dual eligible linebacker D-line guys for pretty much the rest of the way, and hope that by week 3 or 4 I have an idea of who I can start on a weekly basis, because as you mentioned, both those Washington guys they're going to be frustrated for you. There's going to be times they give you double digit point weeks, and there's times they're going to completely disappear with 1 or 2 tackles, and that's it. And then if you start playing I'm going to bench him based on the matchup game, you're just going to drive yourself nuts. So, but overall, the team looks solid and would certainly have a chance here. So
100%. And there's a healthy balance in everything, right? And we just went through all 12 of these teams. If you're still with us, thanks for listening through this. But like, there was not a team where we didn't say something negative about the build, right? Like everyone has their opinions,
Nothing's
like
perfect.
positive and negative. Like you have to take calculated risks with your roster build and your roster management, where you're saying like, I'm willing to take a stand that I need these players to win this thing. Then you're taking your risks. Like it happens all the time in Scott Fishbowl. If people are following that on Twitter, or X, as we mentioned, is what it's called now. Where it's like, oh yeah, these positions look really good, but man, in order for your team to be good, you need your wide receivers to pan out. Like that's just how it works. Like the people you're drafting against, they have the same ADP as you. Like they have the same tools, and they're I like to assume people in IDP are at least a little bit intelligent with the genre. So you're gonna have to take your risk. You have to figure out where you feel comfortable taking those risks. And what makes offense and IDP fun, these combined leagues, is you want to take your risks on offense, you want to take your risks on defense. Like obviously we feel pretty confident in our ability to determine and find those diamonds in the rough on the defensive side. Maybe more so than other folks. So maybe we'll take our risks more on the defensive side. You didn't in this build, which I love, right? But it's just a fun part about fantasy of, everyone has things they don't like about their team. And then if things work out, you end up winning the whole dang thing. And then, we're the fools. It's just fun.
The bigger your leagues are, the more IDP starters there is. This is a 25 round draft. That to some people could be tuning in. This is like, my God, couldn't even fathom that. Yet we also do 53 man round drafts. Like the bigger they are, the more variance there's going to be, and the more you're going to have to be fluid in your strategy. Let the board come to you. Like I said, I've been doing dozens of these at this point, and this is the first time, like I said, that I've had this heavy of a defensive build. It literally in over a dozen drafts is never gone like that for me. So I was even shocked the way it kept falling like that. So you be water, be fluid, ask us questions. We'll help you through it. If you become a subscriber, you jump in that Discord. We've been helping members get through their rookie drafts right now. Some people doing startups, these trade decisions. We love talking about this kind of stuff and helping you manage your team. So with that being said, I think that'll bring tonight to a close. Again, remember IDP plus pod, discount code, 10% off membership, 10% off draft kit. That is now live, IDP redraft draft kit. So if you're looking for help just this year, we have a special draft kit dedicated to that. Come get 10% off. Try it for a month. Come join us for a month, especially right now. This is hot time. This is draft time. Jump in the Discord, see what you think. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Santa. That's where I live. DMs are open on Twitter X now. Elon is goofy ass, so I guess we'll still be around there. Follow the at IDP guys, and Matt, I'll let you have the last word here.
Yeah, I'm at mrecord21. The big thing for me is the IDP Masters tournament is kicking off. So our IDP Invitational, we had a record number of people sign up for that. So thank you for everyone that's listening that was a part of that. That is so cool. We're excited what's going on. Only bigger things are happening. If you want to sign up for the 2024 one, that's already online. You can sign up for that. So get in there while the iron is hot. But yeah, the IDP Masters is only available to subscribers to the IDP guys. You want to be the best of the best. Prove that that's the case. There is a little bit of an entry fee, $35, but that leads to really cool prizes and some really cool things to come from that. So sign up for that if you are a subscriber to IDP guys, and if that interests you, sign up for us. Again, IDP Plus Pod. Use that code. Become a subscriber. Get in there and hit us up in the Discord. It's a really fun time. We continue to build a really fun community in there. People are available all the time to help you with trades, draft picks, really anything you can possibly think of. So get in there, come say hi, and as sort of Steve mentioned earlier, get in the comments for any questions you want answered by us. We're here every Tuesday or so to help you figure out whatever the heck you need to figure out. So get in those comments and let us know what you think. We're here for you.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.